want to thank everybody for coming. We, as most of you know, we do this every month and try to stop and breathe a little bit and think about what all is going on. And one thing that always goes on is birthdays. We have birthdays every month, and this is everyone in the agency who is celebrating a birthday in the month of September, right? And today is what day? 5th, September 5th, right? September the 5th, right? So is there anybody on September the 5th that's your birthday? If you don't tell us and we figure it out, you know how bad it gets? We really?
50 this month.
Are you? Well, how about that? That's who we're going to see? So I didn't say she was turning 50, Marcia did.
Hey, it's all over Facebook.
All right, well, Marcia said it. Hey, 50's all right. I turn that next year. I can't wait. Make it. So we're going to sing happy birthday to Sharon on the count of 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sharon. Happy birthday to you.
All right. All right, so here's the deal. We're going to guess how many years we're celebrating, the entire agency, and see who can get within 100 years. That's pretty bad. How much? All right, so 35.50. That's a pretty good guess.
36.50.
30. What were you? Price is Right. We've seen you do that.
I've already lost it.
Yeah, he's gonna do the $1 one. That's who you want to get on to. What did you say?
36.50.
All right, we'll let Pete be within 100. It's 3,736 years. How about that? So let's give everybody a round of applause. Happy birthday. All right. So we which one? Yeah, do that one first. There we go. Nomination. So. All right. So. I didn't know what was going on. Y'all wonder who the Employee of the Month is? Y'all know? All right, well, let's say hello to Miss Whidbee. You come up here. We'll... Okay, our Employee of the Month, Miss Kendra Whidbee. Miss Whidbee is always at the top of her job, very approachable and dependable. She has great communication skills and has a good rapport with security officers and all the DCSO staff. She always notifies security when she enters a pod and when she's talking to an inmate for any reason. She never places her workload on others and is always willing to help. Out of all the pods at CDM, her pod inmates rarely, if ever, complain and ask to see a case manager because she always makes herself available. Every day she comes to work with a smile on her face and is ready to work. She is positive, uplifting, and definitely the best case manager at CDM, if not the DCSO. Very nice and well done. Congratulations to you. There we go. We'll get a picture made for her. She got the best smile too, by the way. All right, so we're going to give you a coin, one of our coins, and we're going to give you 8 hours of work off. That's awesome. You get your nomination as well. Well, congratulations. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, let's do something else. Obviously, we want to recognize different things that are going on in the agency, and some of those are direct to work and other projects that we have going on. And you guys know that we adopted the Last Minute Toy Store as one of our main issues throughout the year, and a lot of different initiatives that go on throughout the year to help raise money and toys and so forth. Kind of a cool story. We met yesterday with a retired police officer here. Long story short, he is connected to the FOP in Pennsylvania. Okay, don't ask me all this, but what they want to do is they want to donate toys to people in Nashville. And so he saw us on the news just a month ago doing July, Christmas in July, and thought about it, reached out to us, and so we're sending a truck in, November? G4, where are you at? Sometime early November, maybe a full box truck of toys and all sorts of bicycles and all sorts of cool things. So the point is, this thing is year-round, all sorts of ways to raise money and take it on ourselves to to try to pitch in and help at the important time of year, but it's throughout the year. And the North Complex put on a cookout and raised money, and we want to recognize everybody who participated in that and did an incredible job. Some $1,200 that would turned in, obviously, to cards. So let's ask Shirley Bean, Pam Butler. By the way, I hope Pam, is she doing okay? Everybody say, Pam's not here probably. Good, doing better. I've talked to her. Everybody know? Good, okay, good. Pam Butler, Jessica Jones, Cindy Silver, Cynthia Walker, Sarah Farron, Wayne Miller, Rick Perry, William Swafford, Percy. Folks, if y'all all come up here for a second, we're going to present you something. Yeah, here we go. All right. Yeah, we're gonna get our picture made. Are you bringing gifts too? We get all kinds. Here, I'm gonna give you a coin. There, Wayne, you get a coin too, and you get a coin, Miss Bean. There we go. You get a coin, Mr. Swafford. There we go. And we'll give everybody else theirs too. Well,
And I also want to present you with the gift cards.
how about that? Well, cool. Look at that. Look at all. Those are all the money turns into gift cards for all the families. So as we get, well, fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you. Let's get a picture made. Hey, let's get a picture made. Y'all slide in here. Can we do that? I'm going shopping. All right, great. Well, thank y'all very much. Great. All right, we're catching back up a little bit. So, our Officer of the Month, Mr. Jines, if you'd stand up here for a second. We're just a little bit for the Officer of the Month for the month of July. It says, I, Sergeant Gary Biggs, am enthusiastically recommending Corporal Jines for Officer of the Month in reference to an incident pertaining to John Cheatham. I feel Corporal Jines went above and beyond to respond and render aid to his fellow officers. I was trapped on the floor beneath the full weight of inmate Cheatham's body with both of my arms pinned down to my sides and could not defend myself. As inmate Cheatham began to choke me to a point of vision becoming blurry and feeling of lost consciousness, when Corporal Jines responded to the incident, he could see that I was in dire distress and acted with total disregard for his own safety and put his health at risk to save me from potential certain demise. My family and I are more than grateful for his heroic actions and disregard for his own safety to save my life. During the process of subduing inmate Cheatham, Corporal Jines sustained a hand injury and continued to engage inmate Cheatham until the inmate was fully restrained and secured. Following the event, Corporal Jines and I were both transported to Vanderbilt Hospital via ambulance as patients. Corporal Jines stayed with me at the hospital, and while at the hospital, he showed very little concern for his own injury and focused his attention and concern upon me and my well-being. If not for Corporal Jines' immediate response and astute reaction, we may be telling a different story. For this, I'm recommending Corporal Jines for Officer of the Month. I don't know what to say. Thank you very much. Job well done. Come up here, Mr. Biggs. Let's get in here with it. Let's get one. Hang on one second. That's yours. Let's get you several things. We're going to give you a ribbon for your uniform. It's hidden in there somewhere. There you go. For Officer of the Month. We're going to give you 8 hours of leave off, well deserved, and your nomination as well. And not because of these actions, but I want you to know that while we were getting through all this, Mr. Biggs became a sergeant. Had nothing to do with the timing of the event, but he was next to be promoted, and so maybe there was a little bit of good that came out of a really bad situation other than the actions of Mr. Jines, which is fantastic. But the attitude and the work, and I really appreciate you recognizing your work and the job that both of you do. So congratulations on your promotion, and thank you very much. Appreciate you. Thank you. All right. Yeah, so Sergeant Biggs, I'm having trouble getting all that out. But, so we do all kinds of good things around here, I think, and I really appreciate you taking time sometimes to get that information out. You don't have to go far to see people in the highest offices in the land that are tweeting out every day, and so it's not bad to do it with some. I don't know, I'm not going there. But tweeting is not a bad thing, right? It is a way of getting information out that goes on around here, and whether it will be by the time we leave here, Mr. Jines and Ms. Whidbee and others being recognized today, that'll be all over the world here in just a second. But I think it's important that we take time to promote what we're doing, and that's just the way only way I know how to say it. And So what we do is Mark and Carla and Jesse kind of get together and talk about folks that are really using social media in a positive way to encourage what all's going on in the sheriff's office. And then we named this thing the Super Tweeter. That's hard to say, Super Tweeter, because that person is doing a lot to help us get positive issues that are going on in the agency. And so we're going to give our Super Tweeter to Mr. Robert Williams. You come up here. Congratulations to you. All right, this is the cool one, right? See that? I just think that's kind of cool. That's kind of, it looks, so here we go. We'll give you your Super Tweeter coin. Congratulations, Robert. Thank you for your work. Appreciate you. There we go. So that coin reminds me of our holiday ornament. Is that right? What do we need to say about that?
They're on pre-sale right now.
Okay.
So
we bought the last year, if you bought one, they were a big hit. We bought the, there's no money made here, you're just paying for it. But the more we bought, the cheaper it is, whatever. And it was the holiday Christmas ornament thing. Really cool. A lot of folks really bought them. And what happened was we bought so many that had we done on the front end, we could have reduced the cost a little bit. So we're going back out. Here's the difference. If you bought one last year, this year, and from here on, we'll have a year on it. So there are people like, obviously 2018, and if you want a different one. It's changing a little bit.
we changed the colors. If it was green last year, it's now red. So we just kind of switched the colors up, and the ribbon will be green instead of red, and then it'll have 2018. So if you want to pre-order, I think they're $7.50. And so just see the same person you would give your last-minute toy store gift card to that's in your facility, you give it to that person. So like Darlene Holly for this complex would be the person that you would pre-order, but we have to have at least 250 orders to get it at the $7.50 price.
And we were there last year. So if you want one, love you to get one. There's no money made. This isn't a benefit at all, right? It's just something if you want one, and it, like I said, it reminds me of the coin, the little spinner thing in the middle of it. So pretty neat deal. That's underway, and kind of keep your ears and eyes open. Last minute toy store, as I mentioned a minute ago, is a constant thing. It will start ramping up as we get closer, as you can imagine, to the time of November, December. We're doing, gosh, I don't know how many, we make $3,000 or $4,000 every time we do a jean wearing, or whatever you call it, change uniform day for $20 for the month. So
We're about, I think we're somewhere around $15,000 raised since
that's fantastic.
October of last year.
And all that money goes to cards, just so you know. There's no cash money running around. That's why we want to make it. And the cards go to teenagers, they tell me, versus because they're harder to buy for when they shop. And can also be used, I guess, to go buy things if we're light on certain ages. But so it's really a cool thing, and I think we'll have a lot more coming up as it relates to that. I was going to mention this a minute ago as we started, and I should have, but we've had a really tough few months. Y'all know that. Unfortunately, we have a policy now where if we have an officer or an employee who passes away, we'll work on this in the policy. Don't worry about it today, but we're defining it a little differently, and I want you to understand why. An active employee, for the purposes of what I'm talking about, is anyone who's been on our payroll in the last 12 months. Okay, so what I'm saying is, if you became ill and had to go out and used up all your leave and then ultimately didn't have leave, you could argue that person was no longer employed here at some point. For the purposes of what we want to do for anyone who's in that situation, we're talking 12 months. And what does that mean? It means they're active as it relates to an employee here. You walk in the lobby, this is the sad part of what I'm telling you, you walk in our lobby downstairs or downtown, there's a full-size photo of that employee with a ribbon around it for a week. We obviously change and allow you to cover your badge. We gather information about anything you want to say about that person. We will present that to the family. We give them the shadow box. We do a lot of things for that person. And because of the thing called STEP, there are some people who go on STEP and may become sick. And if they're on STEP and sick, then obviously they may not be working here 2 or 3 months, and then something could happen if they passed away. We don't feel like that person should be considered a retired and ex-employee. We believe that person is still employed here if they've been here in the last 12 months. You just have to find a way to define it. And we just had that happen. As you know, today we're going to the service of Larry Bickle. Larry Bickle was here, I don't know, 20 plus years. Worked in warrants and worked down at the admin building in the the guard shack there, if you know the area, and became sick 3 months ago. You know, and at some point didn't think he could come back to work, and that's what happened. And so he's been gone for 3 months and passed away several days ago. We're going to treat him as we would anybody else going forward as an employee. He was here. Obviously, had he gotten better health-wise, he would have returned. We have many cases like that. Whereas if someone worked here 20 years ago, we haven't seen them in 10 years, and we receive information about them passing away, we will surely notify you, but we're not going to treat that person as an employee who's been gone for 15 years. We would still notify you, let you know, but we're not going to gather everything up, go to meet with the family, do all. It's very hard to do, especially when people have moved on in their life. The sad part is we've had 3 in a month. You know, we were at a funeral with Officer Brown. This past weekend, a lot of us were at the Riggs service, one of the saddest things I can imagine. You know, and I want you to know from the agency, what we do is we invite the family back down to the office here in 2 to 3 weeks. And the reason we do that is to give them everything we have that we would want them to know, including some information about benefits. But more importantly, we give them the pictures, we give them everything that's been said about them from you, and we give them their shadow box or badge if that hasn't been given to them already. We have learned over the years that it's easier to do that than in the middle of the chaos of a service. Y'all know how that works, and there's so much going on. We just had the Brown family down here, and it means so much for them to sit around the table and literally hear what you said about their loved one. It's just the truth. And we give that to them in writing based on what's printed on the monitor. And so the Riggs, the father, and others are coming down here in a week or so. And as I mentioned, we have Larry Bickle here today. I would ask you to do this. I want you to know that every family member says the same thing. I know life is fast. You may have met Larry Bickle one day when you parked the car to run up to see Byron or Evan or something. But if you have any connection to that person, it is incredibly valuable to the family. A year from now, this is a 14-year-old son of Officer Brown. And I can only imagine, you know, in 10 years to know anything about your dad is more important than how people who worked with him felt. So don't do it for me, but we've all stood at a funeral of your loved one, and that person walks through the door you never expected and says something about that person that you cared so much about. And you may not be able to make it to the funerals. You may not even know Larry Bickle's family or anyone else. But I want you to know going on the monitor is not so we can read it. Right? We print it off on what is photo paper. It's very nice and and we hand them basically, this is the way his colleagues felt about him. So just take the time. Unfortunately, going forward, we will have more. But I don't want you to misread while we're doing it. We're doing it so that represents how the agency felt about their loved one. And we're trying to get better at it so it's more consistent, and I hope, I wish I could tell you it's not going to be happening anymore, and we wouldn't have to deal with it, but we're going to try to deal with it in a way that allows our agency to represent how we feel. So anyway, it's been a tough month with a lot of those things, tough year. I don't know if you remember, it started off on January 1st. We lost Officer Gilmore coming back to work, and this whole year it feels like we've had several very difficult things. I think I added it up between Riggs and Brown and Bickle. The average age is 47. I mean, that's just not good. No age is good, but I mean, you're talking about young people and a tough thing. So please take time to remember them in your way, whatever that may be. Real quickly, we have soccer in Nashville. I don't know why. Anyway, I wasn't supposed to say that, but I wasn't supposed to say that, was I? The reason I said that, Eric's mad because he likes soccer. I don't mind soccer, but give the people the raises. That's my point. I mean, how do you tell us you're going to give us raises and then I don't understand it. But it's going to happen. It sounds like that's not important to us, other than we need to make sure we get what the employees deserve and the buildings that we need and all the stuff that comes forward. So a quick update or two. The Sheriff's Office downtown complex is well under construction, as you hear every time. I think the BCC's foundation's being poured. We had an event a few weeks back. You can tell there's a lot of work going on that site. It's, I think, on schedule. I would guess a year from now, they hand us the keys. What does that mean? It does not mean that we're going to rush inmates back down there a year from now, but I suspect we have the keys a year from now, and we probably are running both facilities. training in one and living in one and working our way to opening that building. My guess is somewhere late fall of 19, somewhere Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, but it's on schedule, and it's going to be a really good, I think, a really good facility once we get up and running. So that's exciting, on schedule. The headquarters building is under contract. They having to get the surveys and drilling. I think I told you last time they found everything in the world in the ground. It doesn't surprise me. And they're trying to get all that cleaned out and make sure how you haul the dirt away and all that. And then we're starting kind of the early stages of the final, or the formal design of it. A lot of you are involved, I hope, with the transition committees. There will be many, many more. We're going to add to it, take away, change, everything else. There'll be a lot of transitioning going on. One of those needs to get ready about transitioning into the building we know how it's built, right? It's basically built now as far as how it's going to look. And so there's a whole crew of folks who need to transition into how do you run a building that you know what it looks like. There's a whole other transition committee group who's working on what does it need to look like, basically, the headquarters. And so we're excited about, I think, as we go, what those two things are going to do for us. So a lot happening. We'll keep you updated on that. The headquarters a little slower than we wanted, but I'm anxious to see the bricks come down. So transition committees, we've got construction. Obviously, the budget situation, we'll keep you informed as we go. There's a lot happening as it relates to that, and a lot of changes going on even as we speak from the budget standpoint. So let's see, last minute toy store, what else we have? Anything, big issues? I get in here and forget every time. Is there anything? Yes, sir, Marcus?
We have the pre-audit coming up next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So all the staff being prepared when the audits come in, there will be entering staff as well as inmates. We just be prepared, don't take off until after that.
That's a great pre-audit, and it's changed the way we do business. There's no secret about it. Heard an interesting conversation just recently about some jails in the country are using body cameras. Who knows? Once Nashville gets figured out whether they want to do that or not, just hint, hint. I don't care if you're for it or against it. It's $70 million. Okay, whatever you think, $70 million. That's police. Now, if the sheriff's office has to do it, it's probably another $30 million. I don't know. But the point I was going to make is PREA has really changed that, right? You have a body camera walking down the hallway, right? And we're think about what you get involved with, and I'm talking about showers and privacy issues, and you get all that stuff on cameras. And so some people argue that it's more difficult inside than outside as it relates to all that stuff that has to be redacted out and everything. So, but PREA has changed the way that we all look at, in many, many ways, kind of what we do. So we need to have our ears and eyes open for that and what we're doing. A couple other big issues I meant to mention is September the 10th. What day is that? Monday? Next Monday. We officially start our new contract with what will be called Trinity Food. This is the last Summit Food, ABL food event that we do. And from this point forward, inmate contracts, everything else, obviously inmate contract, the food, and our special events and everything else will be done through Trinity. I don't want you to clap, but I will tell you for the last year and a half or so, we have been on an aggressive position to get the food situation better. And so credit to a lot of people in this room for helping us get that done. We've heard from, I don't see Mr. Taylor in here, but some of the administrators for sure were speaking loudly for the officers and staff because the quality of the food at some point became less than what we were satisfied with. And if you don't know, ABL was bought out by a large group called Summit, and it really has never been the same. And so we rebid the thing earlier than we were supposed to, and now we have a new vendor. We think it'll be much better. So hopefully you'll feel that going forward. We're also working on our inmate phone system, probably going to go to some sort of rebid on that to get it cleaned up and fixed. We also have a new contract for what you call security. We call security not indoors but outside, and that should be announced here in just a few days as well. So a lot going on in the contract world. I see Bree. Would you wave, Bree? If you don't know, Bree has been here as a project manager for us for several months and is kind of leading our efforts to evaluate Core Civic. And that's been going on and is probably wrapping up here in the next 2 to 3 months. Basically what that is to evaluate what happens if we take it over. And we could sit here all day and tell you some of those things. We owe the city that conversation. We're going to put forward it's a lot of work that a lot of folks have done. But we're to the end of that where we can now say, do you want us to do it? if you want us to do it, there's a lot of issues that come with that, a lot of money. There are some people in Nashville, politics-wise, who are so anti-privatization that they'll give you whatever the money is, right? Now, are there enough of them? I don't know. I mean, there's enough people that will climb the side of a building and protest on one side of town, so maybe they'll get money to come and ask us to do it. Our position is, we'll do it if you want us to. It's a lot of money. There are other ramifications if we do take that over. But Bree and the whole team has been working for several months, and we will finally present that publicly to the council, the mayor, and all those folks, probably in October sometime, and we ought to be ready to make a final decision and get that behind us. There's been a lot of talk about that for several years, and we're anxious to get that wrapped up as well. What else? Anybody? Mr. Vogel.
Next Tuesday, September 11th, Mission Barbecue's doing a memorial
That's awesome.
service out there. I think our mobile booking's going out there. We're looking for somebody, if any of you guys know a uniformed officer that can sing the national anthem, they're looking for somebody to do that. Short of a uniformed officer, anybody from either police, fire, EMS, Mary was having problems finding somebody to do that. They can sing it, they need it. They'll feed sandwiches to law enforcement, fire, EMS next week. That starts at 11 o'clock. If you're free, as much as they support us and what we do, I encourage everybody to get out there if you can.
By the way, great barbecue. I don't know if you've had, it's fantastic food, I think. Great place. They've been very supportive in all sorts of ways, so we need to return the favor if you guys can. That's a nice gesture on their part. Mr. Vogel reminds me something. You're going to read about this, hear about it in the next several months, but we're going to get out of Sober Ride. The bottom line is that we will publicly announce all this, but the truth is, Nashville has changed so dramatically since Sober Ride started, where you used to call and ask someone to come pick me up and take me home. Y'all know Nashville, there's 150,000 people on a weekend, or excuse me, on a New Year's or a night like that. You really can't organize. There's ride share now, there's so much other things, and we're going to move our energy toward Last Minute Toy Store in other ways, but we will no longer be volunteering and working on New Year's. I see Mr. Bogle because he was a key part of that for many, many years. A lot of you have done it every year for, forever. And we're going to announce it publicly, but I want you to know why. It's not that, it's really the effort is so difficult in a city where you've got masses of people. Like I said, 100 years ago when it started, 30 plus years ago, you would drive to Bennigan's, remember that place? On Murfreesboro Road and take somebody home. Well, there's no Bennigan's, but what there is 150,000 people around the streets, and y'all know who's ever done it, it's a chaotic night. So we're going to move our energy to something else, and so we'll announce that publicly, and we'll kind of get the information out. But it's just taking since we're doing so much on Last Minute Toy Store, it'll be easier, I think. What else we got? Anybody? All right, let's let our honorees go first. Get some food, fellowship, have a good day. I want you to have a good rest of the week as well. So congratulations.